بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. These are the chapters of Tahara. From the beginning it was mentioned that in the issue of being pure, there is that group that had a chance to meet with the selected purest of the creation of Almighty Allah. It became their nature and tabiyat to look for purity. Then there was the second, which was the nasib of the people of knowledge, that although they were not given the chance to see Jannah, but through the barakah of knowledge, it was as though they had seen Jannah. Majority of Sahaba radiallahu anhum were not those that had kashf or were introduced to the next world. But when they would speak, it would be that the amount of yaqeen I have on the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is much more than I have on my own senses. So had I seen Jannah, my yaqeen would not increase more after what I had heard. It was a very high level of their knowledge, level of ilm. It was known as ilm-e-yaqeen, that their knowledge itself was conviction. For many in the world it will be that a day will come where you will see it, and that will be your yaqeen now. But before that you heard about it. For Sahaba radiallahu anhum, their ilm was yaqeeni. That after hearing it from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was the ultimate truth. They would say that if I now see it, my yaqeen in it will not increase in the least bit. Very high. And ilm has so many levels, darajat. But one to grab in at least wherever we can, that the level of the people of ilm is after reading from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so many ahadith, this conviction settles in the heart that purity is not just a thing of adab, and it is not just something nice, but it is a mustaqil ibadah. It is something that I run behind, because if I can make my outside pure, it will pull towards me the angels and it will push away from me the shayateen. So we spoke of the chapter of wudu in detail, and thereafter we mentioned miswak was part of wudu. But ulama made sure that they brought a separate chapter, and when you look at the ahadith, there was a separate mention of the amal of miswak, which was separated from the wudu. For which reason, the mahal of miswak was not only in the wudu. If a man made the miswak before the wudu, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Inda kulli wudu'in," whenever you make wudu, let there be a miswak. Then he said, "Inda kulli salatin." Inda kulli salatin was to mean that there will be certain times when you're going to perform salah, but you don't find the need to make another wudu. Most likely you got wudu already. And it's not so easy how we have water today, that you walk past the wudu khana and then the masjid comes. In the past it was never like that. You will go to certain countries up till today. When you will say, I need to make wudu, then the person says, okay, just go around the corner there. By the time you get around the corner, you will miss the whole salah. It was not that the tap, especially the toilet was one major issue. We reached one time a country, we never knew where the toilets were. So we asked, to know who we asked, but in the ending we found out that it seemed he was the imam of the masjid or the muazzin of the masjid, whatever it was. So he saw us as foreign, and when you see someone foreign, you immediately think money. Whereas sometimes those people in those countries got more money than us, because our rand value is hardly anything. But maybe they heard English, so they thought of the Englishman. So they thought maybe euro, pound. So immediately that man said, istinja, wudu, don't worry, I'll make a plan. So we were right by the wudu khana, right by the toilet, but maybe he felt that for the Englishman this toilet is not munasib. So one long chakkar he took us. He took us out of the place of wudu, and he took us to his room. He took us to his room, like so much of ikram he makes. Took us to his room and said, make wuzu here, make wuzu here. We were so happy like. But it wasn't the easiest place to make wuzu also, nothing better than the other place. It was just, this is his wuzu khana. And then we made wuzu, and after we made wuzu, he said, bakshish. That pay for the wuzu now. Now we're wondering, what you mean? Like, what is bakshish? So he made that whole chakkar. So in the ending it means, I made you make wuzu, nice wuzu, so give something. So whatever we had, we gave. He wasn't too happy. And then we went to the masjid, then we saw I can't remember, he was the muazzin or the imam, I think, same thing it is. He was the person. So then I was happy, at least our money went in the muazzin's hands. But it wasn't easy to make wuzu. So at that time, now imagine before that era, when there was hardly water. So every time you were not going to make wudu. But then the hadith said, but don't forget the miswak. That before that salah now, at least make your miswak. That miswak just needed little water or even your own saliva to make it wet. So even if you had no water to make it wet, you got your own water. And then you just made it little wet and you just did the amal. How well you will manage to clean your teeth with that miswak. But it was that amal to show, oh Allah, I am looking for purity to whatever level I can get it. I am looking for purity to whatever level I can get. Once a person takes that step, then Almighty Allah from His side, He gives that levels of purity which we can't get, which we call inner levels of purity. That pride starts going away, that lust starts going away. Before that, he just could not say, no, I need to press that button. I don't want to go back on YouTube, but never mind, last day today. And again he goes. I don't want to message that girl, this is the last time I'm going to message, but, and then he messages one more. But when he starts working for outer purity, which is something that's nice, the body itself likes it. Which body doesn't like itar? Which body doesn't like to have a mouth that smells nicely? Something that the outside likes, but it is beloved to Almighty Allah. These are those things that pull. It is the magnus of tariq-e khair. It opens up the doors. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned, Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu anhu narrates, that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam once said, Urani fil manam, that in a dream I saw myself atasawwaku bisiwakin, that in the dream I was making miswak. Then two people came in front of me. One was bigger, akbaru min al-akhar. Bigger can either mean in size, it could mean in age, it could mean in status, it could mean in knowledge. What a word was used, bigger. That in some aspect he was bigger than the other. فَنَاوَلْتُ السِّوَاكَ الْأَصْغَرَ مِنْهُمَا. Perhaps the smaller one, as they were walking, he was slightly more in front. Or for whatever reason, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the dream put his hand forward to the smaller one. So normally it will be either, most likely because the smaller one was closer. Ulama explained that other narrations show that if there's someone on your right hand side, then even if he's smaller, he got the right. The narration, we have done it. When Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you are on my right, but these people are elder, can I give my water over to them? Abdullah bin Abbas radiyallahu anhu was on the right. He said, no, your barakah is on water, I want it. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave it to him. So they say if the person is on the right, he got the first haqq. But these were two people that were coming from in front. And most likely the younger one was more in front. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was going to put it in his hand. فَقِيلَ لِي, it was said to me, meaning this was wahi, a command came, kabbir. Kabbir here means give it over to the one who's bigger. He is the one more deserving. فَدَفَعْتُهُ إِلَى الْأَكْبَرِ مِنْهُمَا, I placed it in his hand. Normally under this here, ulama explain that we learn the adab from here. That when you have two people in front, then the one who is elder or the one who is more senior, he is the more deserving of something first. So if you're going to make salam and two people come in front, you try to pick up who's elder. He got the haqq of salam first. Yes, if someone is on your right, he got the first. So they give a lot of explanations, so many messages, lessons can be taken. From the lessons, the one lesson that we can take from here is that in the dream, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told to give it to the bigger one. Two came, and the word akbar has many meanings. Bigger in age, bigger in ilm, that is also called more senior in knowledge, more senior in piety, whatever it was, when he was told in the dream, remember a dream of a Nabi is wahi. When he was told in the dream, put the miswak in the hand of the bigger one, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam thereafter put it in the hand of the bigger one, there was an indication that everyone in this ummah will not be blessed with the sunnah of miswak, which Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself said, had I not feared difficulty on my ummah, I would have made it on all. لَأَمَرْتُهُمْ بِالسِّوَاكِ. It would have been an armed command for all. But it was understood that this amal of miswak, for whatever reason, everyone will not be able to grab it. In the dream, however, he was shown that the miswak you will hand over to the bigger of the ummah. Bigger of the ummah will mean which class? It will mean the people, when you have two groups and you say these are the seniors. When the ummah is looked at and you speak of senior, you never ever look at age, you look at ilm. You say these are the akabir, they are the seniors, let them speak. We say these are the people of knowledge, I mean what we call the ulama, the ahle salah, the people of piety. In the dream it was shown that this amal of miswak will be handed over to the seniors of the ummah. If a person is blessed with the tawfiq to get that miswak, then he must feel so happy about it. And this must spur him on also. That miswak in your pocket is a dalil that you were the one given in the dream. It was put in your hands. That makes that man grab it now. That I don't want to now miss that miswak. Because then it pushes me into the asghar of the ummah. That are you of the younger of the ummah or you are the elder? Everyone says, I want to be from the seniors. So to become from the senior is not everyone's haqq. But when you got the miswak, it's like a dalil, you are also from the senior. This is a tashjih for the people. Look for that miswak. Find that miswak. Go out of your way to keep that miswak. And every time you grab that miswak, think of that Mubarak dream, that it was handed over to Al-Akbar. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala make us all from the seniors of this ummah, through the amal of miswak. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam then explaining that how much of emphasis was put. As we mentioned, it was not an armed command for all, but it was put in the hands of the seniors. So Allah's Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam made mention, when explaining how much of emphasis Jibreel alayhi salam put on Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is going to put that emphasis on his close sahaba. Again, he never gave an armed command for all, but for the people who are the seniors. From the whole world, the most senior was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He says that ma ja'ani Jibreel alayhi salam qattu. Jibreel alayhi salatu was salam never ever came to me. Illa amarani bis siwak, except that he would order me to make miswak. لَقَدْ خَشِيتُ أَنْ أُحْفِيَ مُقَدَّمَ فِيَّ. He said, a time came that I feared that perhaps the front of my mouth, meaning these front gums, I will start going into it. Meaning I will start digging into the gum on account of how much I would make that miswak when I knew that Jibreel alayhi salam is coming. Meaning normally, example, if you got a teacher who's very strict, and he doesn't want to see one paper in the class, and he came one time and he saw something and he became very upset and he just walked out. Then the students understood he likes everything very, very neat. So they say now we would fear when we knew he's coming, now we would start looking around. And even that one paper on which I was writing, I was scared, what if he sees this one, I hid that one. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that when Jibreel alayhi salam was anticipating his coming, I would start making so much of miswak that you overdo it. That perhaps I will even hurt the gum, because Jibreel alayhi salam must not come and still he says, did you make miswak? Remember, an angel is very, very, very pure, extremely pure. And the imam of the angels is Jibreel alayhi salam. So his level of purity is the highest that creation will ever understand. And above that is Almighty Allah, which is known as the Zat of purity. Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam would be very, very what we will call nazuk, extremely delicate in every point. The one narration, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Jibreel alayhi salam, I was waiting for you, but you never came. Jibreel alayhi salam explained, we don't come where there are pictures, we don't come where there are dogs. Very brittle their nature, very delicate their nature. Who to come to, who to stay away. Everyone wants, I wish the selected angels can be mine. They can be around me, they can be with me. The more purer the person of this ummah becomes, the greater jamaat of angels become his. Their nature is nazuk, their nature is delicate, their nature is what we will say brittle. They move away very fast and they get attracted very fast. The more a person can get haya, modesty, the more a person can get purity, the more a person can be clean, then they will be pulled towards. And the more a person loses it is how they go away from the person. In the issue when getting married, a person says that I want to know what's jaiz, halal. Don't tell me what is best. So normally it is told to him that when you get married, law things are halal. But remember, in that few minutes of halal, do what you have to do, but as quick as possible, bring the angels back in your life. Because there are certain times now you're going to be very open. A friend asked that in the house now, is it anything wrong? Because he heard perhaps in one program I mentioned that when satar is open, then the angels pull back. So he mentioned that in my house now, it's only going to be me and my wife and maybe the children. There's no man. So first I explained that in front of the children also the satar shouldn't be open. So I said a woman also, she got a certain satar that must be covered. And then the man has a certain satar. Then he explained, okay, now in the bed, not when we're having relationships, but a person is sleeping, it's hot. So now he likes to wear shorts. He says, is there anything wrong with that? So I said, if you're covered, he said, no, but at night it gets very hot, so the covering also comes out. So then I said to him that, you know, the farq between shorts that covers the satar and doesn't cover, it's only about one hand. It's only that one or two hands that are going to get extra cold or extra hot. I said, when you're sleeping, definitely you want the angels to be with you. But their nature is such that if you're not dressed appropriately, they pull away. So every person has to see how much haya he wants in his life. The more you want the angel, the more you will work for the angel. And the less you want the angels around you, it's your life, it's your privacy, and unique the angels are. They give every man his privacy. That we don't intrude on you. So when the person needs his time to be without clothing, the angels do pull back. But we need the angels very fast to say, come back in, come back in. So a person needs to dress up. So he tells his friend, just wait for me outside. But he doesn't then remain naked, keeping the friend outside. As quick as possible, he puts on clothing because he wants the company of his friend. The angels are our company. The angels are our friends. How much we can get them, that's how much we will try to stay clean. Wherever you feel you're a little dirty, forget about yourself and think about the angels. I need them, so I will go out of my way to pull them back. So that was Jibreel alayhi salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam then to the ones that were close to him. Anas radiallahu anhu was his selected khadim. Now you will remember Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam's nature now becomes the nature of Jibreel alayhi salam. Extremely pure. Because of which in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, if there's any odor, any smell, then he also feels it difficult. His nature becomes so pure. So he would love his khadims to be also very pure. Anas radiallahu anhu was the special khadim of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's nature was also such that if somebody else had to come, he was a villager. He was working in the village. He never had time to make wuzu, to have a ghusl. He would be perspiring. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make bardasht. He would make sabr. He would definitely get that smell or that odor. But he would never shout that person. He would give targheeb. How nice if people use itar. When it was overdone and too much were in the masjid and that odor was not good, at that time Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave a command.
On the day of Jummah, no one must come, unless a ghusl is taken. But otherwise, on the normal occasion, he never. But his group of those around him, Anas radiallahu anhu was his selected khadim. For Anas radiallahu anhu, he was not going to say that had I not feared it difficult, I would have given you the command for miswak. For his khadim khas, he was going to say, I give you the command. He said, you are not everybody else, you are mine. Just like how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted that his special khuddam must always make miswak. Muhaddiseen, it is explained that why they are so close to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is said because although they are not in the suhbat of the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they are in the suhbat of his words day and night. They are hearing that word Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than anyone in the world. So just like how the khadim was told, you have to hold on to miswak, you not the rest. Similarly, the talib of ilm, especially as you come closer to the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that dars must be a dars of purity. Because now I am the khadim of my Rasul. He is in front of me speaking, and I am his student listening. So I will have very expensive itars if I can afford it. Again, when going for itar, try to go away from perfumes and come back to itar. Because in perfume, the question will always be that it writes alcohol. So I want to know, is this alcohol the permissible alcohol, not the permissible? Does it go up into the air? Does it stay on the clothing? Well, all that story on one side. The issue will be, I'm not putting on deodorants so that my friends can say, hey, wow, you got a good smell. I am putting on something to make my Nabi happy with me. I am putting on something to pull angels towards me. Just like how my own nature is such, when I hear the word alcohol, I just feel a little bit upset. Although later on I'll say, no, this alcohol is allowed. We can understand sometimes the angels also might have that nature. So nothing is wrong with it. But let us come on to, especially when you are the students of knowledge. Let's put something on Hazrat Shaykhul Hadith, Moulana Muhammad Zakaria Rahimullah. He loved what is known as ginger beer. Ginger beer. He had a unique, so people who loved Hazrat Shaykh, they knew Hazrat Shaykh loves ginger beer. So whenever they would come, they would buy ginger beer. You don't get it there. It was like a thing of Africa, maybe South Africa, I don't know where else. So when people are going, special taqaza was made, take ginger beer with. So one day on a dastarkhan, one of his khuddam said, Hazrat, you know what this thing is called? So Hazrat Shaykh said, no, what? He said, beer. So he said, what's that? He said, khamar, khamar. Hazrat Shaykh said, beer. After that, Hazrat Shaykh could not drink that thing. After that, he just could not. Other khuddam was so upset, how you could go spoil the ginger beer. They told him this word beer. From that day, he could not see it after that, because even though this is not beer, 100%, but their nature was such. Hazrat Hakim Sahib, when he came to South Africa, they put sausages in front of him. Sausages. So Hazrat Hakim Sahib, one sentence he said, is ajeeb shakal ka gosht. He said, ye kya hai? He had not seen that shape. So Hazrat Hakim Sahib's mind went to something, and he said, take it away from me. He was not going to bother, is it tasty or not tasty? Now finish now. That why they made it a butcher man in that shape? They couldn't choose some nice shape for it. They said, Ajeeb shakal ka. Finished. So when we know the angels are not going to ask us what alcohol, what percentage, what's the masala, can I ask Sanha? That word alcohol itself, just like how it makes my nature upset. Again, nothing wrong if the masala is it's allowed. Whatever the masala has to be regarding it. But while you are looking for the angels, same will come to the issue of when you're cleaning your teeth. We're not cleaning now our tooth here in this issue for the dentist. So the dentist might say to you, make sure you brush your teeth twice a day, morning and night. Make sure you use this Colgate. That's a different issue. That got to do with your dental hygiene. You don't want your tooth to become rotten, so he says use this whitener and use this here. So that issue, you look at the ingredients, you look at what the smell is. We're not speaking of that. We are speaking about now we want to do something on the tooth which brings the angels to us. That angel won't come looking to you and say, do you use close-up or do you use Colgate or what you use. That angel, for whatever reason, he likes the smell of miswak. The angel's nature, he likes that. So there is nothing wrong with using other methods of purifying agents. That will make you pure. There's nothing wrong with it, as long as it's not something that pushes someone's nature away or something that got a harmful ingredient in it. We are discussing that levels of purity. Because remember, wuzu is one tariqah. But if a person says, I want to wash, there's 100 ways of washing. But every way of washing doesn't get what wuzu gets. Similarly, every brush doesn't get what the miswak gets. And every deodorant will not get what itar will get. So as a person of ilm, we will try to go out of our way to accommodate for the angels. That what makes you happy. And that we will try and do. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to his khadim, you my khadim, here you would not be had I not feared difficulty. He said, لَقَدْ أَكْثَرْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي السِّوَاكِ. Like how he said, whenever Jibreel alayhi salam came to me, he told me, you made miswak. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to Anas radiallahu anh, indeed, أَكْثَرْتُ, one meaning means, with great emphasis, I have put so much of emphasis upon you with the miswak, don't forget it. Or the other will mean like the ustad will tell the student that I know I'm acting hard. Every time you come, I got a problem. Like every time. That make me maaf. My nature is like that. That I just need you to be like this. So he said to Anas radiallahu anh, لَقَدْ أَكْثَرْتُ عَلَيْكَ. Indeed, I have made like lot of ta'qeed on you. You might feel it like every time I'm going, Allah's Nabi saying, Anas, you made miswak. He said, أَكْثَرْتُ عَلَيْكَ. But the nature of Nabi was now that it wanted that level of purity. That your mouth must be extremely clean. There must be that lovely odor. Because his nature was, the angels loved it, Almighty Allah loved it. So much the miswak was going to do. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam then spoke of the fadilat, which we all know. تَفْضُلُ الصَّلَاةِ الَّتِي يُسْتَاكُ لَهَا. That salah for which miswak was made, it will be given a virtue over that salah for which no miswak was made. 70 ضِعْفًا. 70 ضِعْفًا means by 70. 70 means that you will never understand how far that salah will go with which miswak was made. And the final hadith of the chapter is, and this shows what is the shauq of a student when he hears something. The Sahabi radiallahu anh, how he implemented it was what level he went to make sure I don't miss it. The amal itself was not going to become a sunnah for the world, ulama will explain, but it was the shauq of the Sahabi. Zayd bin Khalid al-Juhani radiallahu anh is the Sahabi. He says, I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying this, that had it not been difficult for my ummah, I would have ordered them to make miswak inda kulli salatin. So normally what is one level of a student is like how the madrasa will say that had we not feared it will be difficult for the students, we would not have given off even on a Friday. So the one group of students will come and say, hey, the way he said it, we'll go and tell the madrasa, no, don't worry, even Friday we will study. But normally we don't have that. We'll have the order, you say, lucky. So the hadith never meant this, that because I'm feeling it difficult for you, don't do it. It meant I don't want to make it a command. These wordings supposed to make you understand how important. So for him, that's what's more than enough. That Allah's Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wanted to make it compulsory. In fear, he never. Why must I now not make it upon myself compulsory? Now the question comes, but what if I forget? فَكَانَ زَيْدُ بْنُ خَالِدْ يَشْهَدُ الصَّلَوَاتِ فِي الْمَسْجِدِ. When he would come for every salah, to ensure that he doesn't forget this amal of miswak, وَسِوَاكُهُ عَلَى أُذُنِهِ مَوْضِعَ الْقَلَمِ مِنْ أُذُنِ الْكَاتِبِ. He says normally like a person who was a scribe, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would just say, where's the scribe? Wahi had just come. Remember, it's not like South Africa, where everything is by you. If you don't have your pen at that moment, that scribe can't say to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let me go get my pen. He was needed there and there. Their clothing was not like our clothing today. You make it according to what you need, how many pockets you need, where you need the pocket, what you want to put in. Their clothing was ma ittafaq. If a piece of material came, that was their clothing. If they could get a pocket in that clothing, Mubarak, otherwise there was no pocket. Now to make sure that the miswak amal was not forgotten, how the katib would keep his, we call it pen, for them it was like that reed with which they would use to write. The katib who knew at any time Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam could call me would keep it on his ear. So nowadays you don't have to keep it on your ear. Some students when they read this, then they also start putting it for 1-2 days on the ear. So ulama have written this takalluf in this thing. It's not easy on the ear. But for that person who had nowhere else to put it, he would keep it on his ear because he knew my job is, I can be called at any minute to start writing. Immediately find my pen, it's sitting on my ear. Zayd bin Khalid radiallahu anh, he kept his miswak on the ear. And the Sahaba radiallahu anh would say, La yaqumu ila salah. Whenever we would find him standing up for the salah, now the thing on the ear, you always feel it, you can't forget it. Immediately, illa istanna, he would take it to make the miswak, and then he would put it back by his ear. And then he would go for the salah. It never mean that he had to come in the saf, and then when the iqama was taking place, then from his ear, whenever he was making the move towards the salah. Because obviously when you will make miswak, then you will want to spit. The masjids were not like our masjids today. You will understand it if you go to other countries. The masjid is a small area. Outside is sand, outside is grass, outside is pebbles. Now as you're going towards the masjid, he's quickly making the miswak. There's no water, as I told you, not like our time. We have a wuzu khana. So for us the best will be you'll go to the wuzu khana and you will wet it with water because that's the cleanest. That saliva is the alternative. You will wet it with water, you will make miswak there. Or when you're leaving the boarding, when you're leaving the classrooms, there you will put some water. And while you're walking all the way, you'll be making miswak, you'll land up by the wuzu khana, and then you will spit it out, clean your mouth. Best will be to make a fresh wuzu and come in the masjid. He kept it here so that he never ever forgets the amal. In today's time, either a person, and you will see Allah has blessed those people, many a person who went in Jamaat, it became their nature that they could not leave miswak after that. I remember one of the akabir of, most likely it was Nizamuddin, once he came at a very senior age, I just forgot the name. So he was a mutawassil, a khalifa of Hazrat Moulana Masihullah rahimullah, most likely if I'm not mistaken, and a very senior khalifa. And one of the reasons why he became munsalik, joined the work of tabligh, and he became like full for the work of tabligh was, he was sitting once and making wudu, and the other person sat next to him, and that person felt. And then he said, Ish, I don't have my miswak. So normally this is a natural reaction of fadail. When you hear fadail, lot, you become more stronger than the one who doesn't hear fadilat. So an alim normally knows that without a miswak, you can use your fingers also. And there is a narration also, that the fingers will suffice for the miswak. But what it meant was that, not that now make your fingers suffice, means at the time when you don't have, then at least make sure if you don't get full loaf, do something at least. So the fingers then will suffice. Using your fingers, your thumb and your index fingers, try and clean your teeth to whatever extent. So he just said to the person that now if you don't have a miswak, like, just use your finger. And for that person is, how can I make a wuzu without a miswak? So he looked at that person's nature, and this is not a great alim, but because he had heard that fadilat so much, it overtook him. Like he said, look at this person. He got more shock of the miswak than even me. Whereas I'm the alim. And that they played on his mind, and after that also then he became munsalik to the work of tabligh. That one amal. So much of that shock, I must not miss my miswak. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala grant us that level also. But whenever the salah is going to take place, the thought must be there. A salah without a miswak, no, it can't happen for me. So for what you do after that, so what I mentioned, those many who went in tabligh, in Jamaat, they would find everyone with the miswak. So they would come back, you will see they'll make certain kurtas also. I saw one person with 2 slits in his, what is called pocket. 2 compartments. He said, one compartment is for my pen and one for my miswak. I said, Mubarak like to you. So they'll keep it there. Other people will feel a little funny because it's always sitting out there, the miswak, and it's not so like neat always. Especially if they're married and the wife says, don't put that like in that manner. Then you put it in your pocket, wherever you put it, Allah has given us lot nowadays. Now one friend I know, in his pocket, he puts his hand in, everything can come out. Everything. How he puts so much in that thing, everything. So there is place in our pocket for the miswak. May Allah Ta'ala give us the shawq of Sahaba radiallahu anhum. How they understood, لَأَمَرْتُهُمْ بِالسِّوَاكِ, had they not found it difficult. We are the khas khadims of Sharia. May Allah Ta'ala make us how Sahaba radiallahu anhum grabbed this amal and how it was put in the hands of the big of the ummah. May Allah Ta'ala make us those big. May Allah Ta'ala grant us tawfiq that not a single salah goes except that miswak was made for it. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.